The honeymoon was intended to be a languid drift through the Orient, but for the Grey Lords, leisure was merely a cover for high-stakes interference. By the time their private carriage was hitched to the Rangoon-Mandalay Express, the heat was stifling, the gin was lukewarm, and they were being followed by 3 different intelligence agencies. Matthew sat opposite Eliza, his sleeves rolled up to reveal scars earned in the Punjab, methodically cleaning a disassembled Webley revolver. Eliza, draped in breathable silk and a wide-brimmed pith hat, was decoding a telegram hidden inside the label of a mangosteen crate. "The Irrawaddy Syndicate has placed a bounty on our breakfast, Matthew," she remarked, tossing a charred scrap of paper out of the window. "It seems they object to your adjustments of the local teak tariffs." "I find their objections tedious," Matthew replied, his baritone steady despite the train's violent swaying. "And their marksmen are even worse." As the locomotive groaned up the steep inclines of the Shan Hills, the trouble began. A rhythmic thudding echoed from the roof, the sound of boots. Suddenly, the emergency brakes screeched, throwing the Grey Lords against the velvet upholstery. Outside, the lush jungle erupted with the shouts of dacoits, but these weren't simple bandits. They wore the crisp, dark tunics of the Burmese Royal Guard, led by a man Eliza recognized instantly, Colonel Hlang, a mercenary who had once tried to drown her in a vat of fermenting fish sauce in Bangkok. The carriage door was kicked inward. Hlang stood there, levelled a Jezile musket at Matthew's chest, and sneered, "The grand tour ends here, Major. We want the ruby of Mindon." "I'm afraid my wife is wearing it," Matthew said coolly, not looking up from his pistol, "and she is notoriously possessive of her jewellery." Before Hlang could pull the trigger, Eliza's wedding parasol snapped open with a metallic crack. The reinforced ribs deflected the musket ball into the mahogany ceiling. In the same motion she lunged forward, the sharpened tip of the umbrella finding the soft meat of the Colonel's shoulder. Matthew didn't miss a beat. He vaulted over the table, using his heavy boots to crush the lead guard's windpipe before snatching the man's kukri mid-air. The cramped railway carriage became a whirlwind of Victorian violence. Matthew moved with the economy of a butcher, parrying blades with a kukri while Eliza used the narrow space to her advantage, using her parasol as a fencing foil to keep the 3 attackers at bay. "The coupling, Matthew!" Eliza shouted, kicking a guard through the open door into the abyss of a passing ravine. Matthew didn't ask for clarification. He dove through the window, clinging to the exterior brass railing as the train hurtled over a spindly wooden trestle bridge. With the train still moving at 30 miles per hour, he swung himself under the carriage, using a small charge of the same cordite that had saved Eliza at Ali Majid. He blew the iron coupling. The rear half of the train, containing the rest of Halang's men, groaned and separated, disappearing into the jungle mists. Matthew hauled himself back into the carriage, breathless but immaculate, just as Eliza finished tying the Colonel to a luggage rack with her silk corset stays. "You're late," she teased, straightening her hat. "The tea's gone cold." Matthew looked at his wife, blood on her lace cuff, a glint of triumph in her eyes, and handed her his flask. "I suppose this means we're skipping the temple tour in Pagan." "Don't be silly, darling," Eliza smiled, taking a long swig of the Highland malt. "We have a reservation, and besides, the High Priest owes me a favour from 1865. I believe he still has my favourite set of loaded dice."